Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 606 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian, eh? I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.com. Today, recording day is Thursday, March 20th, 2025, and I would like to wish a happy beginning, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, of Nowruz to any of our Iranian, I believe, and maybe all Persian, yes, listeners, because, and I'd only learned this 2 days ago. See, we're always learning, but Nowruz is the Iranian New Year or Persian New Year. So there you go. And it seems that it's a celebration that lasts a few days. It usually starts March 20th, but it can go like from 19th to the 19th through the 22nd. I believe it lasts a certain number of days. I think, you know what, I'm not going to venture on the number of days because I thought I remembered it, but I don't. Yeah, it's
That's a thing.
yeah, but millions of people, like, right throughout the world, but Middle East, Central Asia, beyond Iran, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, so anywhere where there's Persian culture, because it's not just related to Iran. It's a like Ramadan and Passover and whatnot. It lasts several days, and so Happy New Year to everyone. It says, see, how to wish a Persian a new year. On this auspicious day of new beginnings, may your spirit be renewed and your heart be filled with gratitude. Navroz Mubarak. So,
yeah, a friend of mine who was
there you go.
Who is Persian, originally from Iran. She's gone to visit family.
Mm-hmm. And there was a big
family in
celebration.
Canada, by the way. Her family's here. Just she's visiting family right now because of that particular.
Yeah.
She had tweeted about it yesterday, posted a photo, and I was kind of like, huh? I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah. Well, there was a big celebration in our neighborhood about 2 days ago. It was like lots of noise, and Alex was like, maybe her sweeter's like, what's going on? Is there something going on? Should we be making a noise complaint or something? This is pretty loud. And it's like, oh, no. It's New Year celebration. It's permitted and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, we didn't know.
That's a
But
new thing.
yeah, Nowruz means new day in Persian. So it's a 3,000-year-old celebration marking the arrival of spring and symbolizing renewal and rebirth. So it's always around the time of the equinox. So there you go. I think we're all going to go to bed a little more smart tonight. That's a good thing.
A little more smart?
Yes.
A little smarter?
I'm trying. Like this, I'm trying to throw in the little jokes.
It wasn't okay. I wasn't sure. That's why Yeah.
Ah,
All right.
going to be a little more smart.
MRT. I mean SMART.
ah, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Surprisingly good, actually. I
I
didn't.
like
It
it.
was a toss and turning, sleepless night, but I woke up tired, which is nothing out of the ordinary, but not no anguish, no despair, no anxiety, not feeling exhausted for a change. Fresh pot of coffee just brewed. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good day. I think it's
All
going to
right.
be a good day.
Mine's pretty good too. I had 2 curling matches yesterday, lost both of them. By the last one, I was exhausted. I couldn't even focus. It was a terrible match. It was terrible match. We just, after 4 ends, we just said, let's just shake hands. I couldn't make a thing. Before going to the match, I was looking at my beaver sweetie with almost tears in my eyes. I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed now. So yeah, did not have a good game. So much so that such a bad game and so not good that I was actually in the locker room for about 3 or 4 minutes, trying not to get emotional because I played so terribly.
Oh, wow. There you
Yeah,
go.
so tired that my emotions were a little. Because I mean, it's a recreational curling game. We're not at the Olympics or the World Championships. You lose. You just move on. And I was so disappointed that I played so terribly. I was on the verge of tears. I was like, yeah, you're tired. You need to go to bed.
Well, consider too that you pay money to be there. You're not paid money to be there. So it's like how emotionally invested do you get, right?
Right. It's just like, ugh. But you still want to do well, right? Because especially in doubles, there's only two of you, and if you don't show up, quote unquote, like this, you sink your team, and it's like when you're just two, when the other person can't save you,
Mm.
it just doesn't happen. In a 4-person team, if one person plays bad, the other three can maybe save you, unless it's the skip who's playing terribly. But yeah, when you're just two, if one of you plays bad, you're done. So, and I was done before I even got on the ice. Oh well, but I did get a significant amount of sleep last night, thank goodness, and feeling much better today. Uh, Kids and Cubs, I'm also feeling better because I have some rather fantastic news for you.
Oh.
Remember when I keep on telling you about those 3 milestones, right, in public polling? First
Mhm.
one was that the Conservatives come out of majority territory, which happened a few weeks ago.
Oh,
And the
yes.
second one would be the Liberal and the Conservative lines intersecting, right? That happened on Sunday. So, and then I was saying, okay, hopefully if this kind of momentum continues, right, we might see the Liberals slip into majority territory. Yes, and that would be, and you would start seeing that in the Conservative. And each milestone, I said you would see something. So when we reached the first milestone, that's when the Mark Carney is sneaky, and
Mhm.
he moved, I think, 3% of Brookfield, because there's Brookfield, the company, and then there's
Yes.
Brookfield Asset Management. So he moved the
2 different
smaller
things.
one.
Yeah.
Like this, and that's all. He moved it. He moved everything, his entire company, to New York,
You
just
didn't
to
do that.
comply and roll over for Trump. So we had all that, and he's corrupt, and you need to look at his finances, because even though he's the most vetted prime minister we've ever had, there's something wrong about him.
Yeah, this
Let's
guy
not talk
is
about the fact I have a deferred prosecution agreement. Right.
We'll leave
So
that out of
that, yeah.
the equation. Right?
So that was milestone 1. Then there was milestone 2, and then we got the announcement that embedded media will not be allowed to follow the Conservative campaign this
And
time
then, of
around.
course,
Well,
people
yes,
screamed about embedded media need to pay their own freight, which they've always done at costs of thousands of dollars per person.
yes, yes. Which is, and the not having embedded media, it means that the Conservatives, because they're not very good at getting platforms out, and when they want to go into hiding, they're not very good at putting their schedule out and time enough for journalists to Toronto to get to Prince Rupert
Mhm.
to cover it. So unless you're really, really local media, right? You're not going to get to cover that. And of course, you don't have the tools. So the Conservatives, because they like to help, will be there with their cameras and their pool feeds, and they'll create and manage stuff like that and send that to the larger media who just can't make a last minute trip across 4 time zones in a couple of minutes, especially maybe if the night before the event, you say the event's going to be at one place and then, suddenly schedule change. It's going to be somewhere else at another time. The next, those things that conservatives like to do, right? So, yeah, 'cause nothing says, right? We are a strong, confident party led by a strong, confident leader than wanting to prepackage your message yourself and send it out and hoping that people just broadcast it wholesale without asking any questions or doing any checks. Yeah. That's a strong and tough, right? Well, turns out, Mr. Grizzly, there was this decision had a little more panic behind it than I had first thought, because I assumed, right, with Conservatives having lost 30 seats like 3 or 4 weeks in a row and then more, at some point, the Conservatives do have a floor, right? There's not many more seats left to lose. So I thought, maybe take 2, maybe 3 more weeks to see the Liberals overtake. Well, it would seem that some news happened, and 338canada.com, which usually waits till the Sunday to put out its numbers, wanted to put something out a little earlier this week. So on the evening of the 18th, which I believe was Monday, which was
Tuesday.
the day,
Monday was the 17th.
Tuesday, sorry, which was 2 days after they put out their numbers showing that the Liberals had overtaken the Conservatives by 1 seat, 150 to 149. I just sent you something by email there, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah, got it.
This happened
just
yesterday.
Pull this down.
It came out on the 18th. I noticed it yesterday.
338 Canada updated its numbers yesterday, and boom, Liberal majority. No wonder the Conservatives announced embedded media is unwelcome on the campaign. Can't have them recording all the infighting now, can we?
So,
Ipsos just published a poll showing the largest Liberal lead yet at +6.
Yep. So rather than wait till Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 338 Canada.
Go ahead.
338
Canada updated their numbers yesterday. Milestone 3 Liberals showing a seat count majority has been achieved. This is the real reason for which the Conservatives announced that they will not let media follow them on the campaign in an embedded manner. The Conservatives plan to create pool feeds that they will manage themselves and hope the mainstream media will use their slant, unedited, by making it near impossible for them to be followed, especially if they don't really put out a schedule in enough time for anybody not already local to get them. And it's not even a given that Pierre will show up to debate or release a platform in time for it to matter, if at all. When an angry party loses its grip as the bottom falls out in this manner, the infighting, accusations, backbiting, and stabbing, as well as positioning, multiply faster than do nymphomaniac rabbits.
So we have some polling data. This is probably a little fuzzy for you, but it shows the most recent addition from Ipsos, showing the Liberals at +6, which is the largest of the leads so far. And if you look in the right column, you're seeing all the red that appears suddenly. And the Ipsos last one is February 23rd, showing Liberal lead +2. So the lead has grown by 4 points with Ipsos since February 23rd.
Yeah, and it's a 2-week period.
Yeah. And then seat projection. What does it say, Mr. Grizzly? Drum roll, please.
Liberal Party of Canada, 177. Conservative Party of Canada, 132. So majority for the Liberals, looks like.
Yeah. So 2 days before these numbers came up, it was 150 to 49 2 days later, 177 to 132.
Yeah, that's odds of winning the most seat. 338 Canada has the Liberals by 85%. That's
And odds of a Liberal majority?
55%.
Odds of a CPC majority?
1%.
Now, 2 days ago, we showed you a graph that showed that just in February it was at 100% for the Conservatives. That has, I'm watching all the news. Nobody can remember a turnaround that quickly ever in Canadian history. And look at the NDP and the Bloc numbers.
Yeah.
In that one.
Bloc's up by 1%. NDP is down by 2%.
Yep.
And the Green is up by 2%.
Yeah. And if you translate that to seat count, oh yeah, I look at those ones too. Yeah, those are the hockey sticks, as you can see them.
Yeah.
And when you go to the seat count, this model shows the NDP with 7 seats and the Bloc with 25.
Pretty staggering.
Bloc under 30 is pretty rare. And this is not even party status for the NDP. At 7 official party status, I believe, is 12.
Well, again, you know what I feel about polls, but this is I'm gonna say this is pretty staggering of a precipitous drop from a monster lead to you lost. Again, polls are meaningless when it comes to the actual election, and I say that because the last 3 federal elections, the Conservatives were leading, and who won?
Yep. So, and this doesn't mean that you do not go out to the polls. This is motivation.
Correct. To
go out to the polls. Rejoice as you go to the polls. In that same thread that I just showed you, Mr. Grizzly, there's a third post. And if people are wondering, right, is this real? Well, there's another polling aggregator in Canada, this one run by Eric Grenier, who you often see on CBC, also very respected. He's with an organization now called The RIT, W-R-I-T. And they put out their numbers yesterday too. Now, the day before yesterday, they were showing the Conservatives in the lead by about 5 or 6%. But now what does it say in terms of the overall numbers?
1.8% increase, 37.7% for the Liberals and 37.4% for the Conservatives. So yeah, it's wow.
Liberals take the lead, and then if you go to the next slide, what is it showing?
How many seats could each party win? The Liberal 176, the Conservatives 133, the Bloc 26, the NDP 7, which would lose them official party status.
So again, Bloc under 30. NDP no official party status, and this one too, showing Liberals in majority territory. That's 2 different polling aggregators with slightly different methodology. Within 24 hours, both showing the same thing. And according to the RIT, they have 6% probability of Conservatives winning majority instead of 1, and the Liberals with 53% rather than 55%.
Well, and of course, Canada Proud comes out with, after more than a week on the job, can anyone name just one thing Mark Carney has done to stop Trump's tariffs?
Yeah, tons.
I can give you 2 right off the top. According to Max Fawcett, he bought a key piece of radar technology from Australia out from under the U.S., secured a draft deal with Europe to participate in their defense sector buildup, one that includes contracts for Canadian manufacturers. So, yeah.
He's done a lot. Yeah. And again, as I keep on saying, his schedule. He's been prime minister for 6 days. DeFasco, meeting with the leader of France, one of our founding.
And they've entered a new security. Yeah, it looks like we've entered a new security and intel sharing agreement with France.
Yep. Then meeting with the sovereign. Then meeting with the leader of the UK. Then a trip to Nunavut, where they discuss a whole bunch of military things.
And what was the number one thing that Pierre Poilièvre wanted? That he did?
Yes.
The day he was sworn in?
Yes. Right? Yes. Well, we can't say canceled the legislation, but reduced the carbon regulatory fee at the consumer portion to 0 through an order in council, which again, for the pedantics out there, yes, Carney signed the order in council. It was on camera. We saw a signature. And then it goes to the governor general because we live in a constitutional monarchy. And yes, she signs off because there's a difference between signed and signed off. I know that when people say that Carney signed it, you go, was Carney the governor general now? Was he going to be the leader of all the provinces now too? Listen, your deliberate limited ability to understand words written in English does not make you right.
Well, and this was from yesterday, right? This was from yesterday. And somebody replied with, and I know this is hilarious. I know counting is hard, but it's only 5 days. It'll be a week Friday afternoon.
Exactly.
For the pedants amongst us, such as myself, because I am a pedantic individual. Yes, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Yes. So yes, but here for all the people out there saying, "Oh, it's not real," I guess it was sent to the governor general, and she did sign off. So it is in effect. The rate is right now 0. And yes, the law still exists, and yes, the law still needs to be repealed. But the only person in Canada that seems to want to keep the law on the books is Pierre Poilièvre right now. Because again, you know that Tithio Modalix cartoon that we showed you with him wrapped around Trudeau's leg as he was leaving? Yes, that's what he's doing to that bill now. He needs it to exist to be able to campaign on it. Because Pierre right now could agree, could go up to the podium and say, "Hey, I so believe in this. Yeah, let's reopen Parliament. I will not vote non-confidence in the government at the first opportunity so that we can introduce legislation." I am very happy. I'm pretty sure that Mark Carney would be more than pleased to table the legislation himself with his name on it as the sponsor and see if he can get the Conservatives to vote with him. But Pierre would never allow that to happen. So the only person in Canada right now that has any hope of power that apparently is not doing a damn thing to make sure that carbon pricing gets reduced is Pierre.
Funny how that is.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
I had a discussion with a person last night who said, I checked into your statement that we have to have a carbon tax as part of our agreements with the EU, and we don't. We have to have some sort of carbon recovery program or carbon reduction. I'm like, so what's your point? I go, we have to have something for part of our deals. He goes, but not with the US. I go, I know that.
The federal backstop.
It got heated, actually. It got heated. He goes, but we don't need the tax. And I'm like, no, we have to have a carbon recovery program or a carbon reduction program at some point for deals with certain EU nations.
Yes. Here's the thing that these people don't understand, right? Say, no matter what it is, you're going to be paying it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Whether it's a hidden tax, whether it's a carbon capture program and you're throwing money in it, whether it's you trading credits on the carbon market, it all trickles down eventually. So it's not a question of whether or not you're going to be paying for carbon regulation or not. It's how. We had the most transparent, less bureaucratic, most inherently conservative way that allowed you as a consumer to choose how much you paid. It was the best system. We had a federal backstop, which guarantees that no matter what provinces would do on their own, we would always meet the international requirement because there was a federal backstop. Premier Moe of Saskatchewan is infamous from coast to coast to coast for saying, we don't want to use the federal backstop. Somehow we'll find a way to do it better. And then confessed there is no way to do it better or more efficiently or cheaper. And then chose to still do nothing. All right. We had a very good method. One party lied about it and turned the entire country against it. The decision that's being made is not good for the environment. Well, it's not good for the country, but politically, it's good.
The messaging that 80% of Canadians get more from it than they pay into it did not get through to most Canadians, as it turned out.
No.
I've spoken to so many people who had no clue. I'm like, yeah, here's the numbers. Read the article.
The Liberals needed to actually issue paper checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that over the years that used to happen, and then that became considered over the decades crass. So we stopped doing that
And just
because
deposit
it
straight to
seemed
your
like
account.
trying to spike the ball and using the money to take credit for yourself in politics. So we decided that we weren't going to do it. Well, in this case, we probably should have.
Well, again, trying to get people to understand how the system works, sometimes you got to break it down to a first grade level.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but sometimes you just have to. It's
You
as
do.
simple as that. And even intelligent individuals can be confused by the amount of bullshit that is out there in the system and the amount of lies that are spewed, especially if they tend to lean to the conservative political party. They would automatically tend to agree with and believe what the political party messaging would be without actually looking into it because they didn't realize they were being fucking lied to. Because, again, there's no law in place that prevents politicians from lying to you in this country. And they abuse their parliamentary privilege in the House of Commons all the time, and they're all guilty of it. No one is innocent here. This is not one party over another. They're all guilty of it.
Mhm.
Embellishing, adding little hyperbolic statements in it. They're all guilty of it, and it needs to stop. I think we should rescind, to a certain degree, the parliamentary privilege, or at least examine how it's applied right now. Because, when they first brought it about, you couldn't get an instant live report in the palm of your hand while you were in the House of Commons.
Mhm.
You couldn't get it. You might have to wait 24 to 48 hours before you even heard anything about it because the news reporters would be vehemently sourcing the news and vetting it and making sure it was good before they released anything. So you could say something that was deemed untrue or a half true or a complete falsehood and have that privilege due to the fact that you didn't have the information available to you. But now you have it available to you
Mhm.
on your desk in the House of Commons.
Yep.
So there's no excuse.
Everybody does that type of stuff, but there are certain parties that are, if you're a certain age, they're sort of like palm olive.
Mm-hmm.
They're soaking in it.
You're soaking in it, Jan.
My hands are so soft. Speaking with people with soft hands, the leader of the opposition, the man with the softest hands in Canada, delivered the joke of the day yesterday. And he worked really hard at it because the joke had two levels. Remember when we told you yesterday about Donald Trump, IQ 47, saying that, well, he would prefer liberal because the conservative guy didn't say nice things about me.
Yeah.
Mark Carney's never had Trump's name in his mouth yet.
No,
Public.
I've not heard it. Well, no, I
So,
think he has. I think he has referred to Trump a few times in that he's tired of Trump's calling us 51st state and
yeah,
governor.
but he's never said, I am tired of President Trump calling us the 51st state.
No,
Like, there will be no meeting unless we, like I said, with Trump, you can say pretty much anything so long as you don't say his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's like, they didn't say my name. They weren't talking about me. That's about as deep as it gets for Trump. So, Pierre decided that, well, number one, that he was going to take anything that Trump says at face value. Sorry. That was joke number one. Joke number two, he tried to lean into it.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trump says he would rather deal with a liberal. Well, of course he would rather deal with a liberal because I'm tough. I'm strong. I can. The guy who went hiding for 11 days after Chrystia Freeland put an end to Justin Trudeau's, that guy, he's tough and strong, right? The guy that won't allow media embedded in his campaign, he's tough and strong. The guy that frequently gets into verbal spats, not only with female, but seems to particularly delight in getting into them with female journalists. Hashtag McTow. Is a tough and strong. It's like, of course, Trump doesn't want to. Trump doesn't know who you are. He just knows that you're some guy who did not say nice things about him. That's it. Trump likes celebrity.
Oh, yes.
Mark Carney is a celebrity. You, Pierre Poilièvre, are a nobody on the international scene. Who do you think that a guy obsessed with celebrity wants to have his picture taken next to? Another pasty, white, nasally, high-voiced guy in a blue suit with glasses trying to do Trump's shtick? Or an international global banking superstar? Girl, you ain't tough. You're not tough at all, according to the CBC here. Poilièvre says he's a tough guy to deal with and can take on Trump and his taunts. Dude, you can't even take Mark Carney pointing out that you've never had a real job. Come on. This is by John Paul Tasker. Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre said Wednesday he's a, quote, tough guy, well-suited to take on U.S. President Donald Trump, and that's why the American leader said he thinks it's easier, quote, to deal with a liberal in Canada than a conservative. Maybe it's easier to deal with a liberal in Canada right now. Trump thinks that because the liberal that happens to be there didn't say the name Trump while criticizing him. So, now, of course, Pierre, we know how tough Pierre can be because about maybe a third of his vote relies on him. Licking Trump's colon clean, I believe, is the expression. So this will certainly help his fortunes. Again, Max Bernier just sitting in the wings. Come to me, my children. Come. I always told you Pierre was not one of us. I told you this is the one thing that Maxime Bernier said that was true. The Conservative Party is intellectually and morally bankrupt.
Max is a libertarian. Has been for a very long time, and I think it's funny that he's a libertarian, but he wants to be prime minister.
I know. Again, it's just so much oxymorons going on. Focus on morons. The comment comes as Poilièvre and his main opponent, Prime Minister Mark Carney, both jockey to present themselves as the anti-Trump candidate in the upcoming federal election. I'm not sure that Mark Carney is trying to present himself as the anti-Trump candidate. He's just presenting himself as a steady hand who has solved problems before and has handled crises. He's not going, I'm the anti-Trump. It's like, you're the one who's doing, I can stand up to Trump. Mark Carney is saying America's doing some really weird things economically, and hey, if they want to do that, if they want to shoot themselves in the foot, let them. We'll just leapfrog them.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Right? It's not the same thing.
What has Pierre Poilièvre done on the global stage?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
What has he done on the Canadian stage? Oh, that's
Absolutely
right.
Nothing.
Compliance agreement against him.
Brought Timmies to domestic terrorists.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
He's famous for two things. Bringing Timmies to domestic terrorists and passing a bill that was trying to gut your right to vote.
Yeah. That he called the Fair Elections Act.
Again.
It brought down his government.
Fun with words. It's the Fair Elections Act. Fair because it guarantees we get to win all the time. Oh. Yes. Speaking to reporters in Sudbury, Ontario, Poilièvre spun Trump's comments as an endorsement of Carney and a sign the president wants the liberals in power. He said the president wants, quote, weak, compromised, and conflicted leadership. Again, dude, you have a deferred prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
I guess, which you signed because you were too weak and not strong and confident to actually face the trial. And you were too weak and you thought you were too pretty, too cute for jail. Or that you should be spared a fine. But you're tough. Trump did not mention either Poilièvre or Carney by name in his remarks or formally endorse anyone. Thank you, Mr. Tasker, for making that clear. In his interview with Fox News on Tuesday, Trump was pressed on why he's been harder on Canada with his tariffs and threats than some Americans' adversaries. We showed you the clip. right? Canada cheats, we're nasty, all that kind of stuff. Great. It's like make me a t-shirt that says nasty Canadian. I'm on there. And again, Trump, if you're going to call us nasty, don't expect us to behave like nice boys and girls then. Don't be surprised when we're not. Remember, we're vindictive, petty little fuckers.
This is obviously a poor attempt at reverse psychology from Hyperty 007.
Yeah, exactly. What Canadians need is a leader who's tough, firm, and stands by his convictions. Dude, you have no convictions other than you want to win and you hate liberals.
A leader has one conviction. I want to be the king. That's it. He doesn't want to govern. He just wants to rule.
And again, he signed a deferred prosecution agreement to avoid a conviction.
Yeah.
A leader who will
that
first
needs to be pushed in his face on the campaign trail.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, seriously, it needs to be pushed in his face.
I literally do not know why people are not rubbing his nose in it like a dog who piddled in the carpet.
Well, Mark Carney's trying to hide. He's not trying to hide anything. He actually has everything in a blind trust, and he met with the ethics commissioner, and everything's above board. You, sir, have a compliance agreement with Elections Canada that you signed to avoid going to trial and possibly facing prison time.
Of which you have never spoken publicly or even acknowledged. Other than with your signature on the form that said you will comply.
Why is that?
Exactly. What Canada needs is a leader who's tough, firm, and stands by his convictions. A leader who will make us strong, self-reliant, and able to stand on its own 2 feet. A leader who will put Canada first. I'm a strong leader. I'm a tough guy to deal with. No, you're a loudmouth who punches down.
You're a taller Ben Shapiro. You yell a lot and yell at people in their face, and you bully people. You can't debate, and you have no facts.
Yes. Being a loudmouth who punches down on people you deem less worthy than you is not tough. It's literally the classic definition of weak.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who always picks the easy fights.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that always punches down on the people that he thinks that nobody will come to defend. The homeless, addicts, trans people. You're not tough. You're not tough. It's just, come on. And the article, thankfully, reminds us of this moment. In his victory speech after winning the party's leadership, Carney said Poilièvre will leave Canada, quote, divided and ready to be conquered. A person who worships at the altar of Donald Trump will kneel before him, not stand up to him. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Tasker, for putting that in the article, because that's a nice little reminder there.
Gotta show you a picture that was sent to me from Denmark, which I think you'll find fascinating. The Danes have a brilliant sense of humor. You remember, Denmark is the happiest nation on earth and has been for a number of years now. They also have a very wicked dry spotted at a bar in Denmark. So I don't know where.
Shit. Oh my God. Okay. For those of you who are listening on podcast, it's I'm guessing that these are urinals.
Urinals. Yes.
In a bathroom.
They
and
look like
the
open mouths.
Yes. They even like put like something to make look like teeth on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And behind them are the faces of 4 people.
Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and
Little Mikey Johnson.
Thank you.
The Speaker of the House.
It was Mike. I couldn't remember his surname. I was blanking for a reason. Yeah, so pick your poison.
Yes. So just pee in their mouths.
That was Uncover the News who sent that out.
Wow. Gee. Yikes. That is something. That's something indeed. So yeah, rejoice, Canada. Because it seems that the majority of us, at least at the moment, remember, polls are a snapshot in time. They reflect where things were when the polls were taken. So we can't say that that's true today. But as of a couple of days ago, the majority of Canadians thought, yeah, we're not him. Like, absolutely not him. We're at the cafeteria. It's an 8-seat table. There's one person saying, sorry, all these seats are taken. You can't sit with us. Someone's coming next year.
The photograph I just showed says, seen in Denmark recently, which urinal would you use? And the first response is killing me.
Oh, no.
Not Mike Johnson. I fear he might like it.
Ooh, snap.
That's the only one I'm going to read. Some of these are really nasty. That's the only one I'm going to read because I thought it was funny.
Oh, damn.
Said I'm not reading any more of them because they get pretty nasty.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that people are not being shy at all about saying what it is they think at this moment. It's like, hey, dude, it's like you're talking WW3 here and stuff like, it's like we're gonna let fly a bit, okay? So then Pierre came up with his
I'm gonna get a coffee. I'll be right back.
Latest announcement, and it's dumb. He went up to Sudbury. Again, he tried to human with the people that were there wearing, the orange and yellow vests and hard hats and, trying to, not successfully doing it. And then once again, telling us how it is that we're worthless and all that kind of stuff, as he usually does, the same old shtick. And then he made an announcement that he was going to make sure that everything in the whole Ring of Fire area was all good and fantastic and pumping. We're going to, really explore the potential of that era. Pretty much like Doug Ford said in the Northern Ontario debate, which was a little weird because it made it seem that like he was only interested in them for their minerals, but not really for them, especially the way that he was talking about it. But yeah, Pierre Poilièvre, tough Pierre Poilièvre, right? Brilliant Pierre Poilièvre, right? Who comes up with all his ideas on his own. Never copies anything from anyone. Remember that liberal commercial with him saying everything that Trump says? Well, we know that Pierre Poilièvre doesn't like Doug Ford. Well, it seems that Pierre Poilièvre is now copying off Doug Ford's test as well, according to the Canadian press. Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre said Wednesday he'll, quote, set a deadline to approve all federal permits for mining in northwestern Ontario's Ring of Fire region. And you know how long he's going to take for this? 6 months. Apparently, in 6 months, Pierre believes that we can do all the study that is required to make sure that we just don't destroy the water tables with stuff that happens from mining. That the animals will all survive and all that. 6 months. I mean, I can understand fast tracking things, but 6 months?
Well, whose treaty is that? It is treaty territory, the Ring of Fire area. Let's see. I think I have the map here somewhere. Yeah, this is the map. The Ring of Fire is in Treaty 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's under Treaty 9 territory. So I'm not sure who is responsible for Treaty 9. But yeah, has he consulted with those folks?
Of course not. Pierre Poilièvre said that a Conservative government would also commit $1 billion over 3 years to building a road network to link the mining sites to Ontario's highway network and First Nations communities in the area. Quote, we will make this money available by cutting foreign aid. Dumb bureaucracy. I'm not like Trump, but I'll build this road by cutting foreign aid, said Poilièvre. Bureaucracy, consultants, and other liberal waste. What, you can establish a doji too? to free up money for productive investments, he said. Pierre was at a construction firm in Sudbury, Ontario Wednesday as all parties are preparing for an expected federal election call, possibly just days away, a campaign in which developing Canada's resources will be a key issue. The Ring of Fire is about 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and contains massive deposits of critical minerals like nickel, copper, platinum, and cobalt that could be worth tens of billions of dollars. They have dozens of essential applications from electric vehicles and cell phones to medical devices and solar panels. Poilièvre said that because the Ring of Fire holds large deposits of critical minerals considered important to national security, Canada could claim some of the infrastructure spending in the region towards its NATO commitments to spend at least 2% of national GDP on defense. Terms of reference to guide federal assessments of future developments in the Ring of Fire were finalized between 15 First Nations and the Federal Impact Assessment Agency in January. Oh, wait a minute. The federal government was doing something to make sure we could, because in that press conference, Pierre was like, what has the federal government done to make sure, what has everybody done to like this? We've known about this for years, but why hasn't anything been done? Well, you guys were the government for 10 years before the current one. And Doug Ford has been premier for many years now. Keeps on saying we'll get it done there, but hasn't built that road. He's been premier for 7 years. Maybe it has nothing to. Maybe it has nothing to do with the Trudeau liberals working hard to make us more economically dependent on the United States. Because here it says, terms of reference to guide federal assessments of future developments were finalized. That means work was being done. The part of the work that you would fast forward and skip over, which would bring whatever you're doing to court, where you would lose. Because when conservatives try to bypass the Indigenous community on any research project, it always goes to court and they always lose.
Well,
always.
I want to thank Mr. Jim here for highlighting Treaty 9, also known as the James Bay Treaty, involved Anishinaabe, Algonquin, Ojibwe, and, oh boy, I'm going to have a hard time with this, Omushki-Gowuk Cree communities, and the Crown, which is the Canadian government. So, yeah, how much you want to bet old Pierre Pigeon had no say or no intention of ever discussing any of that?
Of course not. Neither does Doug. He said something like, we're going to let the governments like share some of the with the Indigenous. No, you're not going to let them. They're owed that.
Yes.
You don't let them have. They get that.
Period.
Period. Ontario Regional Chief Abram Benedict said that some Northern First Nations are on board while others are still going through their local decision-making processes. Benedict said that no matter what happens, the federal government can't ignore its legal obligation to consult with First Nations. Quote, it's entrenched in the law that there has to be consultation and meaningful consultation with First Nations people. That's not something that can be vetoed in 6 months, he said. We expect the federal government to uphold the responsibility of that consultation, regardless of what announcements have been made. So in other words, Pierre, you think that you get these permanencies done in 6 months? Nah, the consultation with us is going to take more than 6 months, at least. So, no. So it's a plan that can't work. It's a plan that won't work. But he needs to show that he's a tough guy. He will get these done in 6 months. And not only the mining stuff, but the pipelines and all that other stuff too, all those things, right? That Mark Carney says that he's willing to use emergency powers to make sure that some of the projects get done. But he's not saying like in 6 months like this, to which all the conservatives are saying, oh, see, he's going to use the emergency powers just like Trudeau did again. So you want them built fast, but you don't want the government of the day to use the law in order, the emergency powers in the law to make them go fast, but you're willing to give a guy, say, hey, I'm going to do this in 6 months without consulting anybody, which will land you in court. And if they ever went through with doing it in 6 months, the disasters that would happen afterwards. All the money we'd make, we'd be spending in cleaning up the messes that we made in making the money. There would be no net benefit and legal lawsuits and lawyer fees and stuff. It's dumb. It's dumb. And it's a sign that he's in panic.
Oh, yes.
Because he went there to say that he's tough, but that's not an announceable. Hey there, guys. I'm going to prove all these in 6 months. I'd be sitting there and go, dude, you are insulting me again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I am an empty glass and all you need to do is fill me? Come on. This is dumb. It's completely dumb. It cannot happen. It is foolish policy on the back of a napkin. Quick, give me something. Ring of fire in 6 months. Critical minerals. Yeah. It's dumb. Oh, God. Poilièvre said his government would allow companies involved. Oh, yes. Pierre said his government would allow companies involved in ring and fire extraction projects to pay a portion of their federal taxes directly to First Nations communities in the area. Like this, or you could just give them a share of the profits.
You know, that old chestnut.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Ontario Premier Doug Ford promised to speed up provincial approvals for Ring of Fire projects during the recent provincial election. Ford said he sees the Ring of Fire as essential to developing an end-to-end electric vehicle supply chain in the province. The Ontario government only considers 9 First Nations to be within the Ring of Fire region. So this is not going to go well for Doug Ford either. Sol Mamakwa, Ontario NDP deputy leader, who was re-elected, thank goodness, and MPP for Kiwetinung, has criticized the provincial government's consultation efforts. Speaking at Queen's Park on Wednesday, he said First Nations can't be kept out of discussions about federal timelines. Quote, it needs to be done in a way where we are at the table, not on the menu, Mamakwa said. Oh, I like that. That's a good line. And I think it's important that we follow the process of free, prior, informed consent, and that's all they want. And we need to be a part of the discussion and not just an afterthought. Mamakwa says he does not think it's possible to complete the necessary consultation processes in 6 months. Nadia Varelli, federal NDP candidate for Sudbury, said in a media statement that her party would work with First Nations communities to get consent to develop the Ring of Fire and build the necessary roads. And by the way, with Mamakwa saying he doesn't think it's possible to complete the necessary consultation processes in 6 months, if Pierre Poilièvre had actually taken 6 minutes to pick up a phone and call any Indigenous person anywhere in Ontario to run the idea by them before actually bellying up to a podium to say it, he'd have known that.
It's not going to happen.
He has nobody. He so little cares about it that he didn't even run the idea by anybody. Say, hey, does this make sense? Is this dumb? Or again, proof that you have no Indigenous friends. Because they would have told you.
Yeah.
Quote, Poilièvre wants to bulldoze right through the rights holders, only delaying development rather than do what's obligated to move the project forward, which guarantees it goes nowhere like TMX did under Harper. The Ontario government says there are more than 26,000 mining claims for the Ring of Fire held by 15 companies and individuals, and they did not do much to move forward on them. Ford did not get it done. But basically, Pierre, who can't stand Doug Ford, decided to go into the Doug Ford playbook. What did Doug Ford say during the election about Ring of Fire? And then said, I'm going to do that too, and then shortened the timelines. And magnanimously allowed Indigenous people to benefit. Isn't he strong? Isn't he tough? That type of planning and foresight will really stand up against Donald Trump. Pierre, here's the thing. If Pierre Poilièvre negotiates with Donald Trump, Pierre Poilièvre is going to show up at a curling arena for a wrestling match.
I mean, it's not out of the question.
Come on. This is not serious.
Of course not.
That announcement was a waste.
Nanosecond. That's it. That's it. He doesn't give a shit about anything but winning, and he'll say and do whatever he can to win the nanosecond. And hopefully, in his mind, that gets him one step closer. He wants to try Stephen Harper's incrementalism, but he's incapable of doing it because he can't help himself.
He has no patience.
None.
He has no patience. He needs the instant reward. He needs the dopamine hit.
He doesn't know how to play the long game because he's been getting the dopamine hit from Twitter for so long that if he doesn't get it, he goes without. He goes into withdrawal, and he has to do something outlandish, which is why he has a press conference every 3 days. Because he can't stand up in the House of Commons right now and spew his bullshit.
And a press conference every 3 days with nothing to say.
Nothing.
If you truly believe that Canadians are stupid enough, and clearly you do, because you went to a microphone with cameras rolling and you made this announcement, to believe that you can get a mining project or an oil project or a pipeline approved and permitted in 6 months? I mean, Canadians, especially those who hate watch us, do you really, really believe when it's just you, yourself in a mirror, alone in the dark, with no one else around and nobody can see you, nobody can judge, just you, do you really, 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 really believe that a mining project or a pipeline or an oil exploration project can be approved and permitted in 6 months? Has there been anywhere in the world, well, let's say the developed world, where you've seen this happen? In the history of Canada, let's say since the 1970s, have you ever seen anything like this approved in 6 months? Ever? If you're about 50, have you ever seen anything like that approved in 6 months in your lifetime? Even once? He is telling you to your face, I think you're stupid, and I'm going to treat you as such.
It's never going to be any different with him. That's who he is. That's his brand. That's all he's got.
He thinks you're dumb enough to believe this.
Mm-hmm.
Prove him wrong.
He's counting on it. He's counting on ignorance. He's counting on apathy. He's counting on stupidity.
Being informed is a choice, Canada. Choose to be informed.
That's why
this
we're
guy's
here.
lying to you. This is panic. Quick, give me something to announce. It's sad. I don't feel sorry for him. He brought it upon himself.
Well,
the seeds, I kept on telling you, the seeds for this were planted all the way through by the way he was doing stuff.
Oh, yes.
And it's happening. It's just, he's not a smart man. He's just not a smart man.
Well, this is
interesting news.
What's that?
Sorry to cut you off. I just noticed something because I'd been talking about Mark Carney's schedule and I was wondering what it was for today, right? Because he did Dofasco and then all the stuff in Europe and Nunavut and then the U.S. Council of Relations, and it looks like there's going to be a First Ministers meeting. Well, today he is going to have he's jetting to Edmonton. He's booked for a tete-a-tete with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith this morning. And he'll make an announcement on affordable housing in Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what happened in that conversation with Doug Ford before Doug Ford went to have the meeting with the Commerce Secretary, but Doug Ford has calmed down a lot since then. I'm wondering if Danielle Smith, after this meeting, will be calming down quite a bit.
I would imagine so.
I have a feeling that this is a meeting. It's like, listen, lady.
According to Reuters and the Toronto Star, he's going to call an April 28 election on Sunday.
April 28?
Globe and Mail, Reuters, and the Toronto Star are all saying
really?
The same thing.
Not May 5th, April 28.
So, Canada PM Carney to call for April 28th election on Sunday, Globe and Mail reports.
Right, we'll see. Somebody pointed out right around the time that wish I could find it off the top of my head. I don't remember where it is in my social media feeds. But Mark Carney had a picture taken with two people from Blue Rodeo and said he was talking about 5 days in May.
Yeah, Jim
Cuddy.
So,
and then I went to look at the calendar just because sometimes there are 5 Mondays in a month, but there are only 4. So he's not choosing between 5 Mondays in May. So that also made me believe, well, 5 days in May, May 5th. But maybe April 28th. The sooner the better.
In tariff news, Canada places a 200% tariff on little Canadian flags Americans wear on their backpacks while traveling. As U.S. President Trump's unilaterally launched trade war continued, Canadians have struck back with counter tariffs on a valued American item, the little Canadian flag patches Americans put on their luggage while traveling abroad. This is from the Beaverton. The 200% counter tariff are expected to severely impact U.S. citizens' ability to pass as Canadians while visiting other countries. This will limit Americans' chances to enjoy the benefits of being welcomed as Canadians while not getting shunned for being obnoxious Yanks. Passing as Canadians while traveling is the cornerstone of America's international relations strategy. Exclaims Sheila Grubnick, chair of the U.S. Foreign Relations Council. From stoned Iowa undergrads buying weed in Amsterdam to Marco Rubio trying to keep his luggage from getting spit on by Dutch baggage handlers. Canadian flag patches are necessary for us to fly literally anywhere. Grubnick continues, after Canadian flag patches, America's entire diplomatic framework consists of truth social posts where the president calls other countries cucks. Our State Department needs those little maple leaves.
Oh, man.
Sometimes the only way for this is from Mark Kearney. Sometimes the only way for American tourists to get served in a European restaurant was by stitching a Canadian flag patch to their backpack, blazer, or gown. Despite this, they're often given away by their southern accents or demands for ranch dressing. Prime Minister Mark Carney maintains the 200% flag patch tariffs will stay in place as long as Trump's tariffs do. In the meantime, I'm sure Americans can skip vacationing on the sunny beaches of Monaco or Thailand and instead travel to the meth gator-infested swamps of Florida.
Meth gators. There's a scary concept. That would be a set of movies right up there with Sharknado. Meth gators.
Harold Skemps of New York says, I tried traveling with an American flag patch one time, but I just kept getting pelted with croissants. I need a maple leaf. This one is funny. Sue Hawks of Indiana commented, do they got NASCAR in other countries? Well, then why the hell am I going there in the first place? Joseph Grams of Kentucky commented, without a Canadian patch, I guess my only option for foreign travel is to enlist and wait for the next invasion.
Oh, God.
At press time, Canada is considering 500% counter tariffs on all ketchup chips. That's from the Beaverton. I thought it was funny and wanted to read that.
That is fantastic. I love that. All right. So, Liberal majority predicted. Pierre is tanking. Pierre trying to save himself. Pierre trying to make sure that he can really, really, really control the message, right? Because, as I keep on mentioning, it sure would be a shame if on the campaign, the press pool that was following you happened to hear all the infighting and arguing going on behind closed doors and make your party drama the daily story every day during an election. Oh, well. So too bad. So Pierre's doing it to himself. He's sinking, fading into irrelevance, which is probably the thing he hates the most, actually, is being irrelevant, given how thirsty he is for attention. If that trend keeps working, this will be good. Of course, there's a whole election campaign to go through. Like I said, Mr. Grizzly, April 28th, I would have been less inclined to believe it until these numbers came out, because if these numbers are showing majority now, then hey, let's just speed it up a week. Let's just do this.
Yeah, let's
so
make it happen.
I can understand that thinking. Yeah,
of course,
who knows?
The conservative will say he's doing this so that he can avoid his ethics commissioner report because it'll be under the 120. Oh, whatever, man.
Yeah, whatever.
Grasping at straws.
It's right now when Pierre Poilièvre talks, it's like Charlie Brown's T-shirt for me.
Yeah, the teachers and adults.
Yeah.
It's just in from Newsweek. Germany is now warning its citizens that they are not guaranteed entry to the U.S., even if they have a visa or entry waiver. The country updated its travel advice for the U.S. after several Germans were detained at the border.
Yep. Well, that's what we told you before, that lady that you mentioned, right? Because she's a good-looking white woman, would probably, get some attention. Well,
and it definitely did.
Yeah, she was detained, held behind bars for nearly 2 weeks, and is now back home. I'm glad she's back home.
I don't know.
Never should have been detained in the first place.
I don't know. I don't know that she's 100% innocent. It sounds like there were some mistakes made on both sides, but I think what they did, their response was a little what we would call over the top, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's maybe some mistakes in the sense that she had an initial visa, and then the company was not going to happen. And she was in Mexico, and she found another job while she was in Mexico, got another visa, and was coming back. So I mean, she did have a work visa. It wasn't the same one, but she did have one. So she should have been able to enter. But the most important thing is when they told her, you know what? No, we're not going to recognize this visa. The one thing that had to happen at that point is, do you want to try to enter anyway? After which we will detain you and whatnot. Or do you want to find another way back to Canada or remain in Mexico? And that option was not given to her, which means he was kidnapped.
Basically.
Yes. And they had done it to 2 Germans before. We had read that in that story. So, and then there are more of these types of stories here. Charlie Angus had brought attention to something as well, but there were 2 people, I think, that had crossed into the United States from Canada and had been asked a whole bunch of really weird questions. And I don't know. I can't remember all the details here about this one, but let's see what it is. He says, Niemöller and the Dangerous State of American Tourism. This is Charlie Angus here. The border between Canada and the United States is nearly 9,000 kilometers long without bayonets or guns. A border where neighbors in British Columbia and Washington State, Ontario, Michigan, Quebec and Vermont, New Brunswick and Maine cross back and forth. A border that cuts right through a library and opera hall. What a powerful symbol of shared values and traditions. It's just a line between neighbors, no big deal. But no more. Consider the treatment of Jasmine Mooney, the co-founder of a drink brand. The young entrepreneur was looking to renew her American work visa. It should have been simple and straightforward. Instead, she was arrested by ICE and dragged into a detention cell. She was held in chains for the first 3 days without even a blanket to keep warm. And then there's Becky Burke, a young British student who was backpacking in the United States and made the mistake of trying to cross into Canada without the proper paperwork. She was turned back, and United States officials had her immediately arrested as an illegal alien. She has been held for weeks in a brutal detention center. Jessica Brosch, a 29-year-old German, was arrested while trying to head to see friends in Los Angeles. She was held in an ICE detention center for 6 weeks. As reports of nightmarish encounters between tourists and U.S. border guards mount, it is sending a severe chill for those considering travel to the United States. Yeah. They don't care who it is.
No, clearly. It's irrelevant.
Right.
Here's a report.
And I'm going to look for that story about the 2 Canadians at the border that had that really weird experience.
Okay. I've got a report just in. This is from CTV. It's a new report by the C.D. Howe Institute. Suggests that Canada should raise retirement age to 67 too, and get this, to address labor shortages. So let me see if I understand this correctly. We were bringing in too many people, and there was an abundance of people who couldn't fill jobs. So they reduced the immigration numbers, and now they want to raise the retirement age to 67 to address labor shortages. Would somebody please make that make sense to me? There's too many immigrants. They're taking all the jobs. Okay, we'll reduce the numbers. Well, shit, we have to raise the retirement age so people can keep working because we don't have enough people to fill the jobs. Which is it?
Yeah.
A new report by C.D. Howe Institute suggests Canada should gradually raise the normal retirement age to 67 in order to address labor shortages and help sustain pension systems. The public policy think tank based out of Toronto says the change would put Canada in line with successful international models. Life expectancy has increased by 10 years, so this is important to consider all these factors and inform individuals. They need to live longer. They need financial support for longer life after retirement, said Parisa Mabubi, senior analyst with the C.D. Howe Institute. However, delaying access to pensions is an idea not everyone agrees with. If you're going to start pensions later, then you have to make sure those people whose health fails earlier, they are not affected by it, said Bill Van Gordon, seniors advocate. In Canada, employment opportunities are limited for seniors, especially on the East Coast, where unemployment rates are highest for the group. That's one reason why the report also calls on provincial governments to adopt targeted policies to support older workers, such as flexible work arrangements, part-time career opportunities, self-employment options, particularly in regions like the Atlantic provinces where senior participation is notably low. The study also suggests Canada should invest in high-quality training programs for underrepresented groups, focusing on digital skills and job search strategies. Canada's labour workforce grew steadily since 1976, but experienced a decline in 2020 due to the pandemic, according to the C.D. Howe Institute. By 2024, Canada had 22.1 million people in the labour force, an increase of about 1.9 million from 2019, mainly driven by the expansionary immigration policy that the country has followed until recently. Immigrants accounted for 56% of this increase in the labour force, while non-permanent residents made up 32%. While the labour force has grown over time, the study also notes the labour force participation has trended downward over the last 2 decades. The trend is largely driven by an aging population, as participation rates drop sharply after age 54 and continue to decline with age.
Yeah.
If you tell me I got to work 2 years longer, if I get a job,
yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I was not able to find the other article, but I will look for it and bring it to you another day, because there were some Canadians trying to enter the United States from the northern border, and there that had some very, very, very unpleasant experiences at the border.
From PNC Bio says, yes, the ones we need in the labour force are 66-year-old senior citizens. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, they'll have to get flexible works. Yeah. You know how many employers are going to do that?
No. Yeah. Not happening. Oh, man. All right. What else do we have for you here, Kits and Cubs? Some trigger warning. Again, we're going to be talking about the Prairie Green Landfill.
Oh, yes.
But as you know, they were looking for 2 people there, and they had found remains of 2 people. The first person had been identified, Morgan Harris, and the second lady now, Mercedes Myron, has been identified. So, again, hard news because of the reality of what happened, but in another sense, good news, because yet another family is going to have an opportunity for closure and healing. Once again, we're sending the message that people are not trash. Premier Wab Canoe said, Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris are coming home. That is what we set out to do. I don't know if many of us knew the odds of success, but it turns out bringing them home was within our grasp. We went through a whole heck of a lot to get to this point, but at the end of the day, we did the right thing. And they did it way faster than they thought, and for way less money, because they thought that the search would take a full year. But using things like milk carton dates and all that kind of stuff, they were able to find and pare down where in the whole landfill to look, and found them pretty much around within 3 months. It wasn't as hard as the people that were saying it can't be done were claiming. Nowhere near as hard as they were claiming. Maybe that's why they turned around and said, yeah, we got that one wrong. Workers are still at the Prairie Green to find additional remains of Harris and Myron. He said the search could continue for a few more weeks before the province reassesses next steps alongside the women's families. Quote, I can tell you that today we continue to find remains, and in the coming weeks, perhaps that will no longer be the case. Canoe would not say whether the search would continue in hopes of finding another victim, a still unidentified woman who was given the name of Mashkodi Bizihikwikwi, or Buffalo Woman, by community leaders. I hope they still look. Investigators. So Harrison Myron are believed to have been killed in early May 2022. Mashkode Bizikikwe, Bizikikwe is believed to have been killed in mid-March of that year, but her remains have never been found. Investigators believe that the fourth victim, uh, Rebecca Comtois, I believe her name is, if I'm not mistaken. All I see right here is Comtois in the article, but I don't see a first name for some reason, which is kind of weird. There should always be a first name the first time somebody's mentioned in an article. But they believe that Comtois was the last of this particular serial killer's targets, and her partial remains were found in a garbage bin in Winnipeg in mid-May of that year, with more found at the Bay City-run Brady Road landfill in June 2022. So her remains had already been found, and I'm guessing maybe that's one of the things that was the catalyst. Well, if she was in that one and they found her, then let's look in the other ones. I mean, you have to like this when you're putting the pieces together, because we get the stories in little bits.
Mhm.
But they had found someone. So therefore the families were saying, well, if she can be found, then ours could probably be found too. So I mean, it wasn't even like this mysterious, like maybe if we look, we can find, like, somebody had been found. And some people still said no to searching. Some people, man. Some people need to spend a lot of time with themselves and think about some
Indeed.
stuff. Donna Bartlett, Myron's grandmother, previously told CBC News that Myron made contact with the family for the last time on March 15th, 2022. While the family had hoped that Myron would reappear, Bartlett said they contacted police and put out posters reporting her as missing later that fall. Kyra Wilson, Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, said she witnessed the strength, determination, and love of Myron's family as they fought to bring her home. Quote, "The courage is a reflection of the love they carry for her. Our hearts are with them as they grieve and begin the journey of healing," she said in a news release. The families of Harris and Myron had long called for Prairie Green to be searched for the women's remains. On the same morning Comtois' remains were found in the Winnipeg garbage bin, the remains of Harris and Myron in a dumpster a few blocks away were picked up by a garbage truck. It wasn't until June 20th, 2022, that police realized the remains had been taken to the privately run Prairie Green Landfill in the rural municipality of Rosser, just north of Winnipeg. By then, more than 10,000 more loads of garbage had been dumped there. A search of the site, which was initially deemed unfeasible by police and later became a political issue in Manitoba's 2023 provincial election, began late last year. Then Premier Heather Stephenson, and leader of the Manitoba Progressive Conservative Party, apologized following the election for ads that promoted her decision not to search the landfill for Harris and Myron. And that was the particularly gross thing. It's not
Yes.
only that they say no, but they promoted their decision as no, as something with which to get elected by. We're being responsible. We would really, really like to, but it just wouldn't be safe for everybody else. We had to make the tough decision, and we're a government that can make these kinds of tough decisions, so vote for us. They literally tried to market it as a virtue. I'm glad they
Disgusting.
lost, and that they
Disgusting.
lost to an Indigenous man.
Yes.
Earlier this month, the Progressive Conservatives apologized to the families for refusing to search the landfill. When asked about the PC's failed election campaign, Canoe replied that he's more focused on Manitobans. Quote, "Regardless of how you felt over the course of this thing, I hope we can all just agree that it's good that we're able to provide closure to these families." Again, he could take this opportunity to put the knife in the back and twist. He could. He would be entitled. But the moment doesn't call for it. This is not the time you spike the ball, not with this type of story. This is not where you take a victory lap.
No.
You did the right thing, and that's enough. And he avoided the temptation. This is a man of character. He doesn't go for the quick win.
No, he's in this for Manitobans in the long game, and this is what people voted for. This is what people want more of, and
Decency.
the amount of individuals I've spoken to throughout the country, because I talk to people all over the country, believe it or not, who have said he is what this country needs more of. I hear it all the time from no matter the political stripe. They're like, and I said, well, yeah, and let's observe, his bearing, his brand is NDP, but if you actually look at the policies they're enacting and the manner that he behaves and performs in, he's got more in line with Joe Clark and that brand of progressive conservatism than anybody.
Yep. Yep.
We will give you a hand up, not a handout, if you're willing to put in the effort on your part. That is a conservative mentality.
An inherently traditionally conservative mentality,
Yes.
not what's passing for conservative these days.
No, that's an inherent conservative tenet, if you will.
Yeah. Canoe said in the future he would like to publicly honor those who participated in the Prairie Green search. Again, nailing it. In the meantime, he urged time and space for the families of Harris and Myron. Quote, I hope that there's healing for everyone. Hilda Anderson Pierce, chair of the National Family and Survivors Circle, says the discovery of the women remains is heartbreaking for the entire community, particularly for the families of Harris, Myron, and other missing Indigenous women and girls. Quote, families have had to fight on the front line for their loved ones to be brought home, she said. That in itself is very heartbreaking. She also wants an inquiry to be called into Winnipeg Police's decision not to search Prairie Green. Yes. Yes. Gene Bowers was officially sworn in as the new chief of Winnipeg Police on Monday morning. He replaced former chief Danny Smythe, who said searching Prairie Green was not feasible because too much time had passed since Harris and Myron's remains were taken there. Translated from bullshit into English, yeah, we don't care about them and we're just too lazy to do it. That's what that meant. Quote, I think the community is looking for a response from this new police chief on how things are going to change, Anderson Pierce said. Yeah. Indeed. If this ever happens again, how will the police respond? Anderson Pierce also hopes Canadians understand their role in stopping violence against Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse people. They're part of this fight. And again, as a note, and I'm very happy that the CBC put this in the article, support is available for anyone affected by these reports and the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous people. Immediate emotional assistance and crisis support are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through a national hotline that can be reached at 1-844-413-6649. I'll repeat the number.
Please do, and I will put it in the chat, and I will put it in the ticker. So go ahead, and what's the name of the helpline again?
They don't say what the name of the helpline is in here, in this one. But it's a national hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay,
At 1-844-413-6649. Thank you, Mr. Grizzly, for putting that on the ticker in the chat. You can also access through Government of Canada health support services such as mental health counseling, community-based support and cultural services, and some travel costs to see elders and traditional healers. Family members seeking information about a missing or murdered loved one can access the Family Information Liaison units, and there is a link to that I am going to put in the chat here for the kids and cubs who may benefit from this. There we go, right in the chat. Hopefully that will show up.
It's there.
So yeah.
Although it won't show up as a clickable link, so just send it to me.
Oh, okay, perfect. And I will do that way. Send it to make sure it shows up as a clickable link. So yeah, tough story, but glad it's done. And it's kind of weird to say this, but the best possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
That there will be healing and closure matters. Yeah. So you were saying, Mr. Grizzly, sorry.
No, that's it.
Yeah. So very, very important. We wanted to make sure that we followed up on this story, and if there's anything else coming in the next few days or what, we will continue following this, because this is, at least I think I can speak for Mr. Grizzly. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here saying this is of huge importance
It is indeed.
to us. All right. Couple of other little things going on, because we haven't been doing too much actually, by the way, Doug Ford had his cabinet sworn in yesterday, and I was surprised. I was going, why he hasn't had his cabinet sworn in yet? Apparently it takes a certain amount of days for Elections Ontario to actually confirm the results, so the swearing in can't happen before that. Because I said, well, gee, Mark Carney's already sworn in and gone, but I mean, that was a Liberal Party leadership race, where it's, doesn't take as long to confirm the vote. In an actual general election of some kind, you want to take the time to confirm the data and the results. So that's why it happened. But he's now the new. They have been sworn in, and now they are able to start making decisions there with Doug Ford. So just that little thing there. Little tidbits here. The Vancouver Auto Show has asked Tesla to not show up this year because there's vandalism and stuff like that going on at dealerships. There's even been Molotov cocktails thrown at a few.
And somebody just floated the possibility that it might be Tesla doing it themselves to get insurance, because their sales are tanking and the stock is tanking so bad.
Yeah.
Look, that's a conspiracy theory. Maybe there's some truth. I don't know, but it's just...
Let's put it this way. With these guys, you can't put anything past them.
No, but here's the thing. I strongly do not support that at all.
Me neither.
Whether don't vandalize somebody.
No vigilante justice.
No, it's not.
Boycotts, that type of stuff. That's all like this. But going into people work there, right? But
vandalism is not the solution. It does not help anyone. It creates major issues for the automobile owner or leaseholder with their insurance companies. Their insurance costs will go up. And now apparently insurance companies are looking at dropping Teslas, is a rumor that I've heard. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I have heard that.
It's been reported that insurance companies are looking at it. Tesla stock has dropped 38%. Sales are dropping. Musk, who is the richest man in the world, and here's an idea, here's a number that will blow your mind, has lost more than $126 billion this year.
Since, in December, he was worth $400 billion. Currently, he's worth $200. So since December, he's lost $200 billion in value.
And he's still the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
No wonder Trump loves him.
Yeah.
A man who could blow through $126 billion in a year? Who can lose 100? Trump only aspires to that. Well, he only bankrupted six casinos. Maybe I don't know if he reached $126 billion in 6 casinos, but he didn't do them simultaneously and maybe one at a time. But blow 100. Trump must just really want to do that, and no wonder Trump thinks he's an excellent businessman. But a man who loses $126 billion in 1 year probably should not be anywhere near the U.S. Treasury, though. Just saying. So, and it seems that there are some shareholders that are now calling for Elon Musk to be removed, because CEOs usually try to not make themselves the news, and this guy has been taking up way too much spotlight, and it is affecting his fiduciary duty to the company. So it looks like there are people looking to throw him out. No wonder he's working so hard for Trump and begging for largesse to compensate for the money he's losing. In Turkey, the autocratic leader, Erdogan, who's 71, has had Istanbul's very popular two-term mayor arrested. Conveniently, the mayor was expected over the next couple of days to be chosen as the leader of the main opposition party.
Wow, isn't that interesting?
That would be going into an election that's about to happen in Turkey. And of course, the famous classic ones of accusing him of corruption and terrorism in order to arrest him, to take him out, which sparked massive protests throughout the country. About 100 other people were arrested as well, of course, including journalists and certain business people. Erdogan has been prime minister first and then president, kind of like Putin, since 2014. And though he is limited to 2 terms, which Putin was limited, I believe, to certain terms, he's trying to get around it by declaring an election early. If I don't complete this term and have an election early and secure another 5 years, then I'm
Wait a second.
I got another term before my term limit was up, so I can stay past the term limit, right?
No. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
Not how it works. From J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States of America. Europe doesn't understand or respect core democratic values. 8 seconds later, French scientists denied U.S. entry after phone messages critical of Trump found. France's research minister said the scientist was traveling to Houston for a conference when his phone was searched. I thought they were all about the free speech.
Interesting.
J.D. Vance, Europe doesn't understand or respect core democratic values. 8 seconds later. All federal funding from Trump, all federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending upon the crime, arrested. No masks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. J.D. Vance, Europe doesn't understand or respect core democratic values. 8 seconds later. Trump administration presses Romania to lift restrictions on Andrew Tate. Brothers Tristan and Andrew Tate have been charged with sexual misconduct, organized crime, and money laundering.
I wonder why Trump wants them to get turds of a feather.
We're in the most absurd of times.
Yep. More talking about absurd. It seems that ceasefire between Israel and Gaza is no more. Israel has just started bombing all over again. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, 450 people have been killed over the past 2 days. So, way to go, Donald. You solved that one. And apparently, with Ukraine and Russia, because Trump is going to solve that one too. I mean, he was supposed to solve that one on the first day, remember? Well, it seems that President Zelensky took a couple of chances, a couple of gambles that paid off, because after that meeting at the White House that went terrible, which was a setup, apparently IQ 47 and President Zelensky had a very good, quote, fantastic call yesterday. I'll believe that when I see the Zelensky side of the readout of that call. But it seems that Zelensky. Okay, it seems that Zelensky is sending the signals that he's open to terms for a ceasefire deal, knowing that Putin, or at least banking on the fact that Putin will never, ever, ever, ever really actually agree to them. So now Zelensky is looking like the guy who wants to be reasonable. Oh, yes, Mr. Trump, I'm perfectly happy to accept your deal like this. All we need to get is Vlad to sign.
Well,
so now Trump has to deal with trying to get a deal with another Trump, a man whose word means absolutely nothing.
Nothing. This is
Zelensky just has to wait for both of them to one day decide they're going to be honest and truthful, and maybe a ceasefire will happen.
From Newsweek, this was published an hour ago. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pushed back against elements of Donald Trump's 30-day ceasefire proposal, warning on Thursday that the issue is complex because some of the country's occupied regions are divided by a demarcation line. Zelensky spoke after Wednesday's phone call with the U.S. president, during which Ukraine's leader said Kyiv was prepared to pause attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure as an initial step toward what he hoped would lead to a lasting peace. Why it matters. Trump has been holding talks with Moscow and Kyiv as part of his election pledge to bring an end to the war in Ukraine, which is now in its fourth year. However, his efforts to broker a ceasefire have largely been unsuccessful. Zelensky's latest remarks underscore the challenges ahead before any potential peace agreement can be reached. The issue of territory will be most difficult, Zelensky told reporters on Thursday, of a potential ceasefire and peace deal. Russian President Vladimir Putin has demanded that Ukraine cede its occupied territories, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kherson. There's one, Zaporizhia, I think.
Zaporizhia,
and Kherson, and recognize Crimea, the Black Sea Peninsula that he annexed in 2014, as Russian. Ukraine has so far rejected the demands, and I would too.
I would too.
Zelensky said some towns and cities are split by a contact line, and if in some places you leave this line, you will simply leave places or towns without life. No one will return to half the city, and if somewhere it will return, if it happens to some big cities, then it will be Berlin all over again. I told President Trump honestly, do we want Berlin? Do we want many such cities? The Ukrainian president said, referring to the division of Berlin during the Cold War.
Well, Trump
The
does like
96-mile Berlin Wall, which cut through the center of the city from 1961 to 1989, was designed to stop people fleeing from Soviet-controlled East Berlin to the west. The issue of territory will be a challenge for us, for everyone. We will defend Ukraine as much as possible in these issues, but it will be very difficult for us, Zelensky said, adding that Ukraine doesn't legally recognize any of its occupied territories as Russian.
Mm-hmm.
You need to understand something here, is that they want Trump and Putin's idea of a ceasefire or an end to the war is you give us everything we want, and you get none of what you want. Now, I have spoken to friends of mine who are American who said, well, this war will just go on forever if you don't do this. And I go, what part of the United States of America would you willing to secede or allow to be taken over by Russia if they invaded your nation? Wouldn't you fight to the last man's breath? Or would you just go, well, we just don't want the killing to continue, so we'll just give up all our territory? No, you wouldn't. And if you tell me that you would, you're lying, and I know you're lying. I know you're lying. You wouldn't give up a square inch. So don't tell me this is the right move. You are in a cult.
Yep.
If you think Trump is doing the right thing by saying, well, Putin wants all this area, we'll just let him have it. No. They are the invaders. They are the aggressors. Ukraine is defending their sovereign territory.
Yep.
To give up any of it is absolutely unacceptable.
Yep.
Period. The same thing when I got mad at my friend for this because he says, well, I said, no. Your president wants to annex my country. Do you think I will give up a square centimeter of it? I will fight to the death to protect this nation. And there are millions more like me. Millions more like me. People who have never held a rifle in their lives are suddenly joining gun clubs so they can learn how to shoot. So they can learn how to load, reload, and clean the weapon. They learn safe handling of the weapon. So that if you need a firearm to take up arms against an aggressor invading us, you're prepared. Don't tell me we need to end the war by handing over land. That's bullshit, and you know it.
I have the feeling that the military's recruitment issues are going to...
their numbers have just gone through the roof for the amount of people signing up.
Yeah, they're going to. Yeah. In Russia, it seems that, like I said, Zelensky is calling Putin's bluff because Putin will never agree to anything. And Putin's proven him right because apparently there were some terms that they had to agree to while they were trying to negotiate in the ceasefire. And Putin's still bombing energy infrastructure. So Putin can't quit his mission. Because if he quits his mission, he has no longer any reason to exist.
Correct.
As the leader of that nation.
Well, and if
Trump will never hammer out deals of a ceasefire that will satisfy Putin. And if the deal between Trump and Putin behind the back door is that they're carving out which each will take, if Trump really believes that Putin is the kind of man that will actually let Trump keep his share once it's all done, Trump's a stupid motherfucker. Pardon my language.
The other thing to consider here, and I spoke to somebody about this the other day. I said, how did the 3-week invasion and takeover of Ukraine go for Russia? Ukraine has a population of 44 million. Yeah, but they have a larger standing army than Canada. Yeah, they do, but they don't have an air force. They don't have fighter jets. They don't have a navy. They had a larger army. Sure, okay. And they're fighting back with drones. We can increase our numbers very quickly and very rapidly because Canadians will always answer the call when the call is made. We always have. We always will. We will do what it takes to protect our way of life.
Yes, we will.
There are almost 42 million of us. There are a lot of new Canadians who will take up arms to protect the homeland, the place that took them in. And I will tell you something else. There are an awful lot of Americans that would work with us in the underground, in the resistance. I guarantee it, because they want no part of that bullshit either.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you, sir. Completely agree.
And with that, I want to share an image sent to me from Uncover the News, which I think you'll like. And this is from the Toronto Sun, of all places. And I think it's rather pertinent and poignant that he recreated the cartoon of raising the flag at Iwo Jima. In this case, it's Canadian soldiers raising the Canadian flag while sticking the flagpole up Trump's buttocks. And here's why this is poignant and pertinent in this instance. The United States of America just removed all references to Ira Hayes on the website for veterans. Because Ira Hayes was an Indigenous man. Ira Hayes was one of the members of the flag bearers at Iwo Jima, and they removed all references to him. Why? They said DEI. How is it that an Indigenous man who volunteers to fight in a war overseas for a country who has pushed his people to unfarmable lands, how is that DEI? Please explain that to me, because I do not understand it. A man who was pushed to the margins of society and decided to get up and fight for the country that hated him and did it anyway. They removed all references to him. They did the same thing for Jackie Robinson as well.
Yeah.
So if you are not a white male, because you know what they did also? All females, all women who are buried at Arlington National Cemetery, their names have been removed from the website. I'm not joking. This is what's happening right now. They removed their names from the Arlington National Cemetery website. It is only the names of white men. So, your grave is there. You're in the ground. You're buried there, but you're not acknowledged in a public forum for all the world to see, because you don't exist according to the current administration.
Oh my God. I am just so... Again, and these are the people. If you look at Maple MAGA, erasure.
Yeah.
You're erasing all the white people. What is this, if not erasure? Oh, my God. Okay, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you loved listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Now, if you would like to not miss an episode, for example, of our audio podcast, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page, podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words, or the QR code that Mr. Grizzly will make appear right under my chin. If you scan that, it will bring you there. And when you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. So thanks for subscribing. If you would like to help us in other ways, then you need to surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kits, Cassie, and Elaine will be beckoning you to flick, click, and lick our buttons. Like, share, subscribe, get freaky. We don't care what you do when you're doing it alone in the dark. Have fun. And thanks for your support. And thanks to everyone, 13,800 and counting. You are wonderful. We really support. We're happy for your support. Thank you. And if you would like to help us in other ways, let's say financially, because we do incur some costs in bringing this show to you, we would very, very much appreciate your help. And you can do that by making a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where we work every day to stop the scourge of dry beaver. Every day. And you can help with that with a little donation. Just click the QR code that appeared by Mr. Grizzly's disapproving head. And it'll bring you to our coffee page. Again, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Leave a little coinage over there to let us know that you like what we do and you would like to encourage us to do more. That would be absolutely delightful. And you can do that, as did our good friend Kid Hugh the other day. Thank you so very much for having supported us. We really, really, really do appreciate all the help. So, yeah. And let's see. I believe that Kit Hugh also left us a little message. Very simple. Resistance is never futile. We are the damn fam. Assimilate. And a little thank you as well to our friend, Mr. Kit T. Wigmore, who has sent us a little message of encouragement. Good morning. That podcast this morning, this was on Tuesday's podcast, was much like sitting on my comfy couch with a cup of freshly roasted and freshly ground dark roast coffee. At least that is the best description I can come up with to paint the feeling after visiting the lodge. I like that feeling. Thanks you both for your clarity, analysis, humor, and humility. And then Mr. Wigmore asks us a few questions about the actually podcast and how we came about and stuff. So we're not going to do it on this show, but I will remember to note this. And when we do our podcast on Saturday, if you would like to join us, we'll take some time to answer the questions. And Kits and Cubs, if you do have any questions about how things came about and how we came about and all that kind of stuff, send that to us too. We're happy to do Q&As on the behind the scenes and the stuff and how we came to be. If you want to know more about us in the show, we definitely welcome that. So we do have your questions, Kit T. Wakemore, and we will definitely be answering them for you. Like this. So if you tune into our podcast on Saturday, I'll try to remember until Saturday to have that for you there. We'll have a little discussion about that. But thank you for those wonderful words. They bring sunshine to my day. So thank you. Because democracy is something that you do, Kits and Cubs, liberal leadership election in Quebec. That's very important. But again, I would say write your MPs and senators and really ask them to put on the agenda taking back control of our media ownership laws. We have to change this. We have to change this.
Yes, we do.
Because we might get lucky this time that we have some person that slid in at the last minute and made sure that the Conservatives don't win. But we can't keep on hoping that. We have to make some structural changes to make sure that we stop losing the number of people that we are losing to whatever it is that force is.
Well,
that's making people go down these rabbit holes.
I gotta read something to you because I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. From Canada's dumbest lawyer, Eva Chipmunk. Yeah. This is just, oh my God, listen to this. Trump said, Canada is one of the nastiest countries to deal with. They're always lying. You can take him at his word or not, but there is some truth. Wait, let me try that again. Sorry. You can take him at his word or not, but there has to be some truth to what Trump is saying. If it is true, it really exposes the lie that Canada pretends to be the inclusive, kind, and righteous country it claims to be. As I said earlier today, if we aren't kind, inclusive, and caring, let's drop the act. The mask is slipping and the world is starting to see the real face beneath. Okay, you sellout, traitorous individual.
I believe the expression is from the movie The Women, 1939. There's an expression for you, ladies, but it's not used in high society outside of a kennel.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting face to be presented.
You think?
When when accusing the mask of falling on Canada. Immigrate. You are so unhappy here. Leave. Just leave. Oh my word. These people. Ugh. All right. Mr. Did I send you a little something?
I don't know.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. One little thing, because you talked about Jackie Robinson. So I sent you a little something for the Easter egg. Kids and cubs, it could be tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. In times like these, which are strange and bizarre times, remember to address and take care of your mental health. I will be doing some recording later today. I will be posting an ASMR pre-recorded video. I will try and do a live one later this evening if I have the time. For those of you who need to have a gentle, soft landing place where you can feel like you're part of a group that actually does give a shit about each other. I have one rule and requirement when you come into my ASMR space. All politics are left at the door. And I know that's incredibly difficult right now to do. I understand that. But we're going to check him at the door. We're not going to discuss the politics. We're just going to discuss how and what we're feeling. And how and what ways and in which manner we can use to improve our lot in life. And that's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Grizzly, cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I have a snarfly groaning puppy dog right beside me.
Good. Hello, Lola. I have 2 Easter eggs for you. I sent you a second one, Mr. Grizzly, if you didn't see it while the credits were playing. We might get dinged for this one because it's from ESPN, but we have to show it.
Yeah,
this is Mina Kimes, who is an NFL analyst at ESPN, talking about the Jackie Robinson thing.
So ESPN and others reported today that the Department of Defense, amidst an ongoing effort to purge government mentions of diversity, equity, inclusion, removed a website honoring Jackie Robinson's military service. It has since been restored, and their spokesperson, the Pentagon press secretary, said this: we do not view or highlight people such as Robinson through the prism of immutable characteristics such as race, amongst other things. So, look, Jackie Robinson was known for many things, but above all, first and foremost, it was his ongoing courage in the face of racial discrimination. In fact, in addition to crossing the color barrier in baseball, He served in a segregated unit in the Army and in one instance refused to move to the back of the bus, was arrested and acquitted. That matters. That history cannot be erased, it cannot be undone, and it must be recognized to fully understand and celebrate his legacy.
Okay. Sorry for the music and the horn, but it was like from the around the horn section
Around
of
the
the
horn
sports
section.
show. So the happy music with that type of subject didn't seem to quite go with that.
No, but that's just because that's the format of the show.
That's the format. Now, the other one for you, Kids and Cubs, I'm with Rosie Barton having done what she did. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of something that will probably make you happy if you're not pleased with what she did, coming from Elizabeth May.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good. So this is Coffee Makes Everything Better. Elizabeth May coming in super hot, and from Steve Boots. Why is this so hilarious to me? Rosemary Barton, I hope all the conservatives tweeting about me and my tough questions finally agree to appear in my program. They have an open invitation. Elizabeth May, over the top, off the top rope with the atomic elbow. Really? You have blackballed me for years. I remember you said, not on my show, ever again, when I insisted climate science was not up for debate.
So if we had any doubt that Rosie was a conservative, if she wants to debate climate science on her shows,
Yeah.
as a journalist, just when you connect the dots and you pick all the little bits of information and put them together, you kind of get a picture, don't you?
Yes. I want to read this one into the record for you. This is from Arlene Dickinson. She posted this, I guess, 12 hours ago. And if you're not familiar with Arlene Dickinson, she's an entrepreneur who appears on Dragon's Den. She's a proud Canadian, a self-made woman who was struggling horribly financially and made a millionaire, became a millionaire through hard work and determination.
And also on the Canada-U.S. Council's Relations Board.
Correct. So this is what she had to say yesterday. He says he doesn't need Canada, that we're a burden, that we're taking advantage of the U.S. Then he says he wants us to be a state, that we should be American, that we should fall in line. So which is it? Are we worthless, or are we so valuable that he wants to claim us? You can't insult us, dismiss us, and then demand to own us. That's called hypocrisy and ridiculous. He slapped Canada with 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium, treating us like an enemy while only imposing 10% tariffs on China, the country fueling the fentanyl crisis. He claimed Canada was ripping off the U.S. in trade, despite the reality that the U.S. runs a trade surplus with Canada in many key sectors, including services. He dismissed Canada as unimportant and not viable, yet his own economy depends on our energy, our minerals, and our trade. And today, he called us nasty, while insisting we were meant to be American. Meanwhile, Canada consistently ranks among the top countries in the world for quality of life, safety, and having the nicest, friendliest people. Imagine calling that nasty. Canada isn't a bargaining chip for the U.S. with Russia or anyone else. We're not a piece of real estate up for grabs. We're a sovereign nation with immense value and resources and global influence. And we're not for sale. Annexing or him ridiculing. Elbows up, Canada. Stern words from Miss Dickinson. That's called kicking ass and taking name, kids. I'll see you.